Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So today we'll be reviewing The Walking Dead Season 11 Episode 10 New Haunts. And wow, this episode was not what I was expecting. So let's get right into this. And I'm going to kind of break this up into, I'll do a little kind of synopsis and I'll do overall good things and then bad things and overall review. Let's get right into this little synopsis. So basically, the plot of this episode is basically wholly focused around Daryl and Carol. It's great to have Carol back. I really like we finally have an episode that actually has Carol do things. This is episode 10 of the final season. In the previous 9 episodes, Carol's kind of nothing. So it's definitely good to see her actually do things this arc. So the episode plot is just that Daryl is kind of trained to be a soldier with Rosita and Carol snooping around doing a Cookie Carol thing, which was absolutely fantastic. It's a very fun watch with these two stories going on. They are very interesting stories. Now I want to talk about all the good things, the big good things of this episode. Now I don't want to talk about the pacing because this is the best pacing definitely this season. Like, season 11 has had a lot of bad paced episodes where they're either too fast, too slow. There's a lot going on. You can't really get into it because there's like 3 or 4 arcs going on. But this episode's pacing is just perfect. You have kind of 2 main stories, however they're very closely interconnected, so it feels like it's not a plot A, plot B. It feels like 2 halves of a plot A because they intertwine with each other. Like Carol's talking to Lance and Daryl's talking to Lance, and you see them all intertwining and you see like they see each other and they interact with each other. It's great to have this instead of those 2 big massive separate plot A, plot B, where the plot B basically goes nowhere by the end of the arc. That's gone, and it really fixes the pacing for me. This episode's so much more enjoyable because there's no cutaway to an arc I don't care about. It's all to do with the Commonwealth. There's no like, oh, the Reapers, I don't really care about them. Oh, people at Exandria just dealing with storms, I don't really care about them. No, it's like, oh, the Commonwealth, that's cool. Oh, look, more of the Commonwealth. I just really like how the arcs are connected now. We don't have 2 separate stories, and the pacing is just great. If you are expecting a lot of action this episode, like we got previous episode, there's none, okay? There's very little action. There's a few fight scenes, but that's about it. And you might be like, oh, that sucks. However, I really liked this because I thought the fight scenes were really intense and really good. The few fight scenes in this episode are just so good because the characters that we've been used to for years no longer have all their weapons. So there's danger now. We know they can't die, but there's actually danger when they fight walkers. My favourite fight scene in this episode is when Carol goes into the basement. There's 3 walkers, but she no longer has her weapons, and she has to be smart to take them out. And we get the same with Daryl. Like, he's grabbing bricks, grabbing things off the floor, pushing them into like the environment to kill walkers. I just thought this was absolutely amazing, where the characters are now using the environment to kill them instead of their little knife they pull out from their pockets all the time. And it just makes the fight seem more creative and fun to watch. It's a very good, entertaining watch to see these kind of new fights now. With the characters, they are all on point this episode. Like, you will not find a character you find annoying. Like, in the Reaper arc, you always had those characters you're like, nah, you're just being stupid for stupid sake. I.e., Daryl was kind of being stupid for stupid sake in the Reaper arc. But with this new arc, I think they've just gone, bam, we're going to make everyone smart now. And it shows, because Sebastian, perfect casting, okay? That guy is a spoiled little prick. And I like the way he's being played. He's being played as a Joffrey type. And it's just perfect. He's so good to have this kid that whines and goes, no, I could have done that. And then we're talking about Daryl. Daryl saves him earlier in the episode. But then after a talk with Mercy, he's like, nah, mate, I gotta kind of be on the good side of this child. And I really like the ending where Daryl just uses his brain. He's like, hey, I didn't save him. You saved him, Sebastian. And I was like, yes. Finally, Daryl's being smart. He's no longer being this kind of character, this kind of lone wolf. He's like, okay, yeah, this guy's gonna make my life hell. I'm going to be big brain. I just like when Carol's a big brain. Talking about Carol, Cookie Cutter Carol is back. I liked the Cookie Carol. She's just so good this episode with her. You could see, it's not like she's making these stupid leaps of like logic. She's just, you can see that she's following a trail. And I really like what they're setting with her story, that she's basically, her arc this 8 episodes is going to be about trying to save Ezekiel and trying to get him up the list, because he's going to die if he doesn't get up the list. And I thought that's like, yes, I like personal stories, and to put Carol in this situation where she has to work with the Commonwealth, absolute perfect, because we could get a Carol and Daryl conflict because of this, and that'd be cool TV. Mercer is also the coolest man possible. I really like Mercer. He's just so cool. And there's a bit where Princess talks to him and Mercer's like, hey, do you want to come with me? I'm like, man, I ship those two so hard. I really want those two characters to get together. And I think they do in the comics. But man, I feel like, man, those two characters are just so good together. I really liked the big ball scene. I thought that was cool. It just felt weird to watch The Walking Dead and just see this big, like, kind of city thing. And that was just so cool to finally experience the Commonwealth fully with all our characters. I just thought that was absolutely just amazing. And it felt so different. It felt so new. It felt so fresh. This is not just some boring episode like we've got recently. This is a fresh new episode with completely new thing. Just think how much cooler this would be if we had Rick around. Now let's talk about some negatives of this episode. There's not very many, but there are negatives. And the big ones I do want to talk about is the start of this episode and Pamela's introduction, because I feel like they both really suck. I didn't like the 30-day time jump immediately. I thought we'll get maybe a little bit more at the end of episode 9, like we'll get a little carry on, but no, straight into 30 days, which kind of annoyed me. And Pamela's introduction was just kind of, camera pans over, Pamela just walks in, gives some chocolate or candy, and then we just carry on with the scene. I didn't like it. I feel like we should have had more build-up with Pamela's introduction, with episodes teasing her. I feel like we should have got something where Lance introduced her, and that should have been the better episode. I feel like we should have got Pamela at the start of this episode when she goes to Alexandria, because the trailer kind of hinted at we would see her at Alexandria, and I thought we would see it this episode with Pamela at Alexandria introduce themselves, and then bam, 30-day time jump. I feel like that should have been it, and that would have fixed those two issues I have. Another issue I have is just I didn't vibe with Pamela. I just felt like she kind of came off as clueless and was just there. Like, this is an introduction episode, and I felt like she should have been a bigger part of the episode. It should have revolved around her more, and they could have done maybe a perspective from Connie, because she had a lot of her scenes with Pamela. So I feel like to improve this episode, it should have been a Connie-Pamela episode, not Daryl and Carol episode. I just didn't like this being Pamela's first episode, and she was just kind of accessory, and she was very clueless at the end about all the big things that are going to happen. She was just clueless that people were unhappy with the way I'm ruling. I just didn't like that, and I just thought it just made her seem like a weaker character, and I didn't like how her own son and Lance seemed more villainous than her. I would have liked Pamela to seem as villainous as Lance in her first episode, like Lance was in his first episode. Now, my last little nitpick of this episode, and the last thing I disliked, is Daryl's armor. I don't know why, it grinds my gears that Daryl's just wearing the armor wrong. We see Rosita in this episode wear the armor, and she wears all of it. She wears it correctly, gloves, everything looks fine on it, it fits her. But then we see Daryl with his armor, and it looks like it's just too big in parts, it's too small points, and he's just missing parts of the armor, and it looks so stupid. He's just not wearing it right, and I don't like it. It just... We also see it in the 6-month time jump that he still doesn't have all the armor pieces and he wears it wrong. And I just think it looks very stupid. And it might be something stupid like how the writers want us to know it's Daryl. But we're not stupid. We could tell it's Daryl. You just give us a small indicator like maybe his armor's got a kink. Don't be like, man, he's missing big chunks of his armor, because then he just looks really stupid and it really grinds my gears. The kid at the start of this episode in the fake little homemade Mercer outfit looks better than what Daryl does in his trooper suit, in my opinion. I just really didn't like it. Now let's move on to my one sentence / one word over review. And there's not very many issues this episode. I do have a couple nitpicks, but it's not like last episode where I actually have actual issues with the ending of the episode where I didn't like things. These are just small things that just kind of grinded my gears slightly. But if I can ignore them, and I can because they're such small little minuscule things, everything else about this episode is absolutely fantastic. And this is definitely the best episode we have this entire season. This is an oops banger, in my opinion. This episode is absolutely near perfect. There's just a few little issues I have. They're mostly cosmetic, or it's just I didn't like how a character was introduced in the start of the episode. That's it. Everything else about this episode is just perfect. But please know what you think about this episode down below. Like, did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? What was your favourite part of the episode? Mine was definitely the kind of fair part. I really liked that, and Carol. Fair part and Carol is definitely my favourite parts. But please tell me what your favourite parts down below. And feel free to subscribe if you want more reviews, theories, discussion videos, because there's always going to be more, and I guarantee you'll like them. Look on the screen for more videos. If you want the previous review, it is on the screen. And this is it for me today. So goodbye, peace out, and I'll see you at a later date.